The silent HFY Collective had ruled the Orion arm of the galaxy for 3,000 years. Their cities floated between stars, massive constructs of crystalline technology that bent light and gravity to their will. They were masters of quantum manipulation, capable of predicting probability streams and collapsing future possibilities into present reality. Their minds linked through psychic networks, sharing thoughts across light years in an instant. To the Vadrine, chaos was an enemy to be controlled, randomness a flaw to be eliminated. They had brought order to 60 star systems, and every species they encountered either joined their collective or vanished into history. Dr. Zenithar was a xenobiologist of the fourth caste, one of thousands who studied primitive species across the galaxy. His work was considered mundane, cataloging creatures that posed no threat and offered little interest to the collective. But on the day his automated probe discovered the third planet, orbiting a yellow dwarf star in Sector 779, something changed. The planet was unremarkable at first glance. Nitrogen-oxygen atmosphere, liquid water, carbon-based life. The probe's sensors detected radio transmissions, a sign of technological civilization. Zenithar flagged it for routine observation and moved on to other systems. It was 3 months before he reviewed the full data, and what he saw made his 3 hearts freeze. The humans, as they called themselves, were at war, not with an external enemy, but with each other. The probe had recorded dozens of conflicts across their single planet. Cities burned, weapons of chemical and nuclear power devastated landscapes, and millions died in struggles over resources, beliefs, and territories. Any rational species would have destroyed itself generations ago under such conditions. Yet somehow, humanity endured. More than endured. They thrived. Zenithar spent the next year studying every piece of data the probe collected. He watched humans rebuild cities that had been reduced to ash. He saw them develop new technologies in the midst of destruction. He observed soldiers who fought until their bodies gave out, civilians who protected strangers at the cost of their own lives, and leaders who rose from nothing to unite fractured nations. What disturbed him most was not their violence, but their adaptation. Every time humanity faced extinction, they changed. They learned. They became stronger. The discovery that truly terrified Zenithar came when he analyzed human biology. Their bodies were a mess of evolutionary compromises. Weak bones that broke easily, fragile skin that tore at the slightest pressure, immune systems that attacked themselves, brains prone to chemical imbalances. They were dying from the moment they were born, aging rapidly compared to most sentient species. They should have been extinct long before developing language. Yet they had conquered their entire planet and were now reaching for the stars. Zenithar prepared his report with trembling hands. He requested an audience with the High Conclave, the Council of Seven that governed the Vadrine Collective. His request was granted 3 weeks later, though he suspected they only agreed because his persistence had become annoying. The conclave chamber was a sphere of pure white light, with the 7 members appearing as shadows of crystalline perfection. Zenithar's physical form felt crude and small in their presence. He began his presentation by showing images of human conflicts. The conclave watched with expressions of disdain. One member, Counselor Vreth, interrupted before Zenithar could finish. "This species is broken. They are destroying themselves. Why waste the collective's time with creatures who will be extinct within a few generations?" Zenithar forced calm into his voice. "Counselors, they have been destroying themselves for 10,000 years. They should have died out countless times. Yet they survive every catastrophe. They adapt to every threat. I have studied 200 species, and none show this level of resilience. Humans do not accept defeat. When pushed to the edge, they do not break. They evolve." Counselor Marish, the oldest of the 7, spoke with a voice like grinding ice. Evolution is predictable. We can model biological adaptation across millions of years. There is nothing unique about this species. That is precisely my point, Zenithor said, his voice rising despite himself. Human evolution is not predictable. They change too fast. Their culture, their technology, their thinking, all of it shifts in ways our models cannot anticipate. They embrace chaos instead of fighting it. They use randomness as a tool. To them, uncertainty is not a flaw, but a weapon. The silence that followed was heavy with dismissal. Finally, Counselor Vreth spoke again. Dr. Zenithor, your concern is noted. However, the collective has faced countless species. We have eliminated threats far greater than primitive mammals who cannot even leave their star system. If they become a problem, we will simply absorb them into the collective or remove them. This audience is concluded. Zenithor wanted to scream, to force them to understand, but the crystalline walls of the chamber began to close. He was dismissed. As he left, he heard one of the counselors laugh. The sound echoed in his mind for days. 5 years passed. The Vadrine continued their expansion, absorbing 3 more systems into their perfect order. Humanity progressed as well, establishing colonies on their moon and neighboring planets. They sent probes deeper into space, their radio signals growing stronger. Zenithor continued his observations, now without official support. What he saw confirmed his worst fears. Humans were learning at an accelerating rate. Their technology jumped forward in leaps that should have taken centuries. The decision to make contact came from the Yas, collective itself. A Vadrine diplomatic vessel entered Earth's system, its arrival announced with a broadcast in every human language. The message was simple. The Vadrine collective offered humanity a place in their grand civilization. Humans would be protected, their primitive conflicts ended, their chaotic nature refined into something orderly and useful. All they had to do was submit to Vadrine authority. Zenithor watched the human response from his observation post. Earth's United Assembly, a fragile coalition of nations formed just decades earlier, convened in emergency session. He expected them to accept. Any rational species would recognize the power difference and choose survival over pride. The Vadrine could destroy Earth with a single thought command. Their technology was millennia beyond human capability. The human ambassador, a woman named Sarah Chun, delivered Earth's response in person aboard the Vadrine vessel. Zenithor accessed the recording through the collective's shared network. Ambassador Chun stood before the Vadrine delegation, small and fragile compared to their crystalline perfection. Her voice was steady as she spoke. We thank the Vadrine collective for their offer. We recognize your power and your achievements. But humanity must respectfully decline. We do not seek masters, no matter how benevolent. We will find our own path among the stars, and we will do so as free beings. We hope the Vadrine will respect our choice. The Vadrine delegation was stunned into silence. No species had ever refused them. Counselor Vreth, who led the diplomatic mission, recovered first. His voice carried cold rage. You do not understand what you are rejecting. We offer you perfection. Without us, you will tear yourselves apart. You are children playing with fire. Ambassador Chun's response was soft but unmovable. We are children who learn to control fire. We have burned ourselves many times. We carry the scars. But we learned, and we will continue learning. Humanity thanks you, but our answer is no. The diplomatic vessel departed Earth's system within the hour. The collective convened again, and this time Zenithor was summoned without request. Counselor Marish spoke first, his voice carrying barely contained fury. You studied these humans. Explain their irrationality. Zenithor chose his words carefully. They value freedom above survival. It is not irrational to them. It is their core identity. Humans would rather die free than live as servants. Then they will die, Vreth said simply. The collective does not tolerate rejection. We will establish a blockade around their star system. No human vessel will leave. No resources will enter. Within a generation, they will beg to join us. Zenithar felt ice in his blood. Counselors, please reconsider. Cornering humanity will not break them. It will teach them respect, Marish interrupted. Or it will end them. Either outcome is acceptable. You are dismissed, Dr. Zenithar. Your warnings have been noted and ignored. Do not raise this matter again. The blockade formed within weeks. 12 Vadrine warships, each capable of shattering planets, surrounded Earth's system at the edge of its heliopause. No human vessel that attempted to pass was destroyed, but they were turned back with demonstrations of overwhelming force. Merchant ships from other species were turned away. Earth and its colonies were alone. Zenithar watched from his observation post as humanity reacted. He expected panic, civil war, collapse. Instead, he saw something else. The humans stopped fighting each other. Their fractured nations began to unify not through force, but through shared purpose. Resources were redirected. Factories that had built weapons of war now built research facilities. The best minds of humanity were gathered together and given a single mission: find a way through the blockade. 20 years passed. The Vadrine collective forgot about Earth, confident the blockade had solved the problem. Other species learned to avoid the quarantine system. Humanity became a footnote in galactic history, a cautionary tale about pride and foolishness. But Zenithar never stopped watching. He saw the lights on Earth burn brighter. He detected strange energy signatures from human research stations. He recorded transmissions that suggested impossible discoveries. And he felt growing dread, because he knew something the collective had forgotten. Humans were at their most dangerous when, backed into a corner, the galaxy would soon remember why. The AWAK and ING, the breakthrough came in the 19th year of the blockade. Dr. Zenithar detected it first, a ripple in space-time that his instruments could not properly classify. It originated from a human research station, orbiting Saturn, deep within the quarantine system. The energy signature was unlike anything in the collective's databases. It was chaotic, unpredictable, and by every Vadrine calculation, it should not have been possible. Zenithar immediately filed a report with the High Conclave. He expected it to be ignored like all his previous warnings. Instead, he was summoned within hours. The 7 counselors appeared more solid than usual in the White Chamber, a sign of agitation. Counselor Marish spoke without preamble. Your sensors detected an anomaly in the human system. Explain. I cannot, Zenithar admitted. The energy signature does not match any known technology. It appears to be a form of faster-than-light propulsion, but the mechanics are completely alien. The Vadrine use quantum tunneling through predicted probability streams. This is something else, something that embraces randomness instead of controlling it. Counselor Vreth's voice carried contempt. Impossible. Chaos cannot be harnessed. It can only be eliminated. Your instruments are malfunctioning. Zenithar pulled up his data. I have run diagnostics 70 times. The readings are accurate. The humans have developed something we do not understand. Then we will destroy it, Marish said coldly. Increase the blockade. Send a battle fleet to the Saturn research station and eliminate it before this technology can be deployed. The Vadrine response was swift and overwhelming. 30 warships entered Earth's system, their quantum weapons charged and ready. The fleet's commander broadcast a final warning to humanity. Surrender the new technology, dismantle the research station, and submit to the collective. Refusal would result in Earth's destruction. Humanity's response came not from diplomats, but from warships. They emerged from behind Saturn's rings, 20 vessels unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. They were not elegant or crystalline like Vadrine craft. They were angular and brutal, covered in ablative armor and bristling with kinetic weapons. And they moved in ways that shattered every principle of physics the Vadrine understood. The human ships did not travel through predicted probability streams. They phased through reality itself, flickering in and out of existence along paths that could not be calculated. The Vadrine fleet's targeting systems failed completely. How could you aim at a target that existed in multiple places simultaneously? How could you predict the movement of something that chose its path through pure randomness? The battle lasted 17 minutes. 17 minutes that changed galactic history. The human fleet did not fight with honor or formation. They struck from impossible angles, fired while phasing through solid matter, and used the Vadrine's own predictive technology against them. Every time the Vadrine calculated where a human ship would be, it appeared somewhere else. Every quantum weapon fired at a predicted location hit empty space. 18 Vadrine warships were destroyed. The remaining 12 retreated in chaos, their crews' minds fractured from exposure to technology they could not comprehend. For the first time in 3,000 years, the Vadrine collective had been defeated in open combat. The news spread through the galaxy like wildfire. Species that had submitted to Vadrine rule whispered in amazement. Humans, the species dismissed as primitive and doomed, had shattered the unbreakable blockade. More shocking was what came next. The human fleet did not pursue. They did not press their advantage. Instead, they broadcast a message to the entire galaxy. Ambassador Sarah Qian, now 20 years older, but no less resolute, delivered humanity's declaration. We did not seek this conflict. We only wanted freedom to explore the stars. The Vadrine tried to cage us, and we have broken those bars. But we do not come as conquerors. We come as partners. To any species who has suffered under tyranny, who has been forced to submit to powers they did not choose, humanity extends its hand. Together, we can build something better than empire. We can build a galaxy where all species are free. The response was immediate and overwhelming. 7 species contacted Earth within days, asking to form alliances. These were civilizations the Vadrine had absorbed generations ago, their cultures suppressed, their independence stolen. They had been waiting for someone, anyone, to challenge the collective's power. Humanity had shown it could be done. The Vadrine High Conclave convened an emergency session. Counselor Vreth demanded immediate retaliation. We must crush them completely. Deploy the full fleet. Turn their planet to dust. Make an example that will echo through the galaxy for 1,000 years. But Counselor Marish, for the first time in his long existence, hesitated. We underestimated them once. It cost us 30 warships and our reputation. If we commit our full fleet and fail again, the collective will collapse. Every species we have absorbed will rebel. We need time to understand their technology. Dr. Zenithar, who had been summoned to provide his expertise, spoke carefully. Counselors, I warned you 19 years ago. Humans adapt to adversity. You gave them 19 years of adversity. They have evolved beyond our ability to predict. Their technology is fundamentally different from ours. They build through chaos while we build through order. We cannot defeat what we cannot understand. Then you are saying they are superior to us? Vreth's voice dripped with venom. No, Zenithar replied. I am saying they are different, and that difference makes them dangerous. The collective has always dealt with threats by absorbing them or destroying them. Neither will work with humanity. They cannot be absorbed because they refuse to submit, and they cannot be destroyed because we cannot predict their actions. Counselor Marish's voice was quiet, but carried the weight of ages. Then what do you suggest? Zenithar had never thought he would be asked this question. He took a moment to organize his thoughts. Negotiate, not from a position of strength, but as equals. Humans respect strength, but they respect fairness more. They will not accept subjugation, but they might accept cooperation. The silence in the chamber was absolute. The concept of treating another species as an equal was foreign to the Vadran. For 3,000 years, they had been the masters of their section of the galaxy. The idea of negotiation felt like surrender, but reality could not be ignored. Over the following months, 7 more species broke free from Vadran control. They used human technology, shared freely by Earth scientists. The Chaos Drive, as it became known across the galaxy, spread faster than the collective could contain it. Human ships appeared in systems the Vadran had claimed for centuries, not as invaders, but as traders and explorers. They established colonies on worlds the Vadran had dismissed as worthless, proving that chaos and disorder could thrive where perfect order failed. The Vadran tried to adapt. They studied captured human technology, attempted to reverse engineer the Chaos Drive, and trained their forces in unpredictable tactics. But every attempt failed. The Vadran mind was built for order. Chaos was not just foreign to them. It was psychologically painful. To embrace randomness was to deny everything their civilization had been built upon. 3 years after the blockade fell, the first Vadran colony rebelled. The crystalline city ship above Vareth Prime simply disconnected from the collective's neural network. Its inhabitants declared independence and asked humanity for protection. The collective sent a fleet to reclaim it. Human warships arrived first and positioned themselves between the Vadran fleet and the colony. No shots were fired. The Vadran retreated. That had happened again. And again. Within 5 years, 20 Vadran systems had declared independence. The collective's perfect order was fracturing. Counselor Vreth called for total war, demanding the deployment of quantum weapons that would unravel entire star systems. But Counselor Marish and 3 others voted against him. The cost would be too high. The collective was already dying. Total war would only hasten its end. Dr. Zenithar was called before the conclave one final time. The 7 members looked diminished somehow, their crystalline forms less bright than before. Marish spoke with what almost sounded like weariness. "You were right, Dr. Zenithar. We should have listened. The question now is whether anything can be salvaged." Zenithar felt no satisfaction in being vindicated. He had watched his civilization crumble because of pride and ignorance. "Perhaps," he said carefully, "but it will require the collective to become something it has never been: flexible, open, willing. To learn from others instead of forcing others to. Learn from us. You are asking us to abandon our fundamental nature," Vreth said bitterly. "I am asking you to survive," Zenithar replied. "Humanity proved that adaptation is stronger than perfection. Either the collective adapts, or it will fade into history like so many empires before it." The final meeting between the Vadran collective and humanity took place on a neutral station, a massive structure built by a now independent species that had once served the Vadran. Ambassador Sarah Chun led the human delegation. She was in her 60s now, her hair gray, but her eyes still sharp. Counselor Marish represented the collective, his crystalline form dimmed by the weight of defeat. The negotiations lasted for weeks. The Vadran wanted guarantees that humanity would not seek revenge. Humans wanted assurances that the collective would never again attempt to subjugate other species. In the end, they reached an agreement. The Vadran would dissolve their empire, granting independence to all absorbed species. In return, humanity would share the Chaos Drive technology and establish trade relations. It was not the peace of equals, but it was peace nonetheless. The Vadran had paid dearly for their arrogance. Their empire was shattered, their reputation destroyed, and their technology revealed to be inadequate. But they survived, and in survival, they learned the lesson humanity had tried to teach them from the beginning, that no species is truly superior. Every form of intelligence has value, and the most dangerous mistake in the galaxy is to dismiss others simply because they are different. Dr. Zenithar retired to a human colony world, one of the few Vadreen to voluntarily leave collective space. He spent his remaining years studying human culture, trying to understand the source of their resilience. His final published work was titled The Strength in Chaos: How Humanity Saved the Galaxy by Refusing to Break. In it, he wrote a conclusion that would be studied by xenologists for generations. The Vadreen sought to create perfection by eliminating chaos. We believed order was the highest achievement of intelligence. But we were wrong. Chaos is not the enemy of order. It is the partner of growth. Humanity understood this instinctively. They embraced their flaws, learned from their failures, and became stronger through adversity. They did not warn us because they wanted to threaten us. They warned us because they hoped we might learn before the price became too high. We did not listen. The galaxy paid the price. But from the ashes of our arrogance, something better emerged. A galaxy where strength comes not from domination, but from cooperation. Where differences are celebrated rather than eliminated. Where chaos and order exist in balance. Humanity gave the galaxy a gift. They showed us that there is no single path to greatness. And they proved that the smallest, most fragile species can change the course of history if they refuse to accept defeat. We laughed at warnings about humanity. We dismissed them as primitive and doomed. We were the ones who were primitive, trapped in rigid thinking that could not adapt. The stars still burn from our mistake, but they burn brighter now, illuminated by the light of freedom that humanity fought to protect. The galaxy would never forget the lesson. And humanity, the species that had been mocked and dismissed, would forever be remembered as the ones who taught it. Asterisk.